Okay, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of See It, a show about movies and stuff. I'm so excited to have you join me again today for See It. I'm sorry again, I was out for another week. I had some issues come up, so I wasn't able to do the live stream last week. But I'm happy to be back for our 30th episode of See It. There's been a lot that's happened over the past few weeks. I'm going to touch on them pretty quickly and really kind of get more into the movies I've seen and want to talk about and how to move forward with that. But thank you so much for everybody who's joining me. The comment section is open on both Facebook and on YouTube. I'm pulling it up now. So if you have anything you want to share about any of the films we're talking about, any of the topics we're going to talk about, please feel free to chime in. I want to take your messages. Also, if you do comment later on down the road, if you watch this after this post, after the live stream ends, I will get to your comments then as well. So thank you so much again for joining me for See It. Let's go ahead and jump straight into the news flash. We've gotten some strike updates. Specifically, that one of the strikes is over. The Writers Guild of America was able to come to terms with the AMPTP just this last week. I am excited for them. I'm happy for them. They got pretty much everything that they wanted. It took almost basically half a year to get there, but they got there. 148 days on strike. It finally ended, and they got protections against AI. They got better health benefits, better residuals, better minimum staffing for writing rooms was built into it too. All the things that CEOs like Bob Iger and others were saying were completely unreasonable and that they were going to break the strike. They did not break the strike. And not only that, now they have to negotiate in good faith with SAG-AFTRA as well. The actors are currently in negotiations as we speak. They've been in negotiations since Monday. 2 days of negotiations. They're going to rejoin together to try to come to some conclusion tomorrow. In negotiations, I think that they will get there because it will be very difficult for them to deny the actors, specifically the residuals and not the use of AI to use their likeness in film. Just like since they've already given them what a lot of it was that they were looking for to the writers. So I'm glad that they were able to stand in solidarity. I'm hoping that the actor strike ends here pretty soon. We do know that this is going to have some ramifications on consumers because despite all of the billions of dollars of profits that these studios and these companies are making, they are still going to push the additional cost of paying extra residuals or having to be transparent about residuals, period. They are going to push that in over the consumer. We got a notice just today that Netflix will be raising their price as soon as the actor strike is over or sometime thereafter. We already know that Max is talking about raising their prices. Disney Plus has already raised it. We're going to continue to see streamers to add additional costs to their streaming platform in the coming weeks to be able to cover these costs. They're not going to take the hit. Their investors won't let them. The whole job of the CEO and the board is to maximize profit. You can't maximize profit if you're paying your workers fairly out of those profits. So they're like, well, we have to pay them. Let's go ahead and increase profits. Now, I don't know what that's going to do in terms of subscriptions. Has streamers proven to be inelastic? Well, it depends. I think that streamers like Paramount Plus have proven to be very elastic. And these are economic terms. I was an economic major in college. I'm sorry. But basically, the flexibility of a consumer's preferences based off of that price, right? So if the price goes up $1, am I willing to stick with Paramount Plus, even though they did just consume Showtime into Paramount Plus for certain packages? Not really. But am I willing to do that for Disney? Probably. Am I willing to do that for Max? Debatable for me because I'm not really into the shows, and I think that their streaming platform has become so hard to navigate compared to what it was before they absorbed all the things from the other organizations. But I do also love Impractical Jokers, and whose line is it anyway? So maybe I will. I don't know. Will I pay that extra dollar for Netflix? Absolutely, I will. So it really depends on the different service and if I think that consumers are going to want to pay. All of them are going to take hits to subscribers, but it's the amount of subscribers and who's going to be at the end of this still standing tall. Disney Plus is having, even though they have a lot of subscribers, they're having a hard time justifying them, especially with them trying to offload ESPN. Who knows what's going to happen with that? But there will be financial ramifications in the future for consumers who enjoy movies and media and television series, Apple TV. All of them are going to have some sort of impact on the consumer. Amazon Prime is already also talking about how they're going to start showing ads for people who just have standard Prime memberships, and you have to pay an extra $3 a month to not have ads run during your movies, your TV shows. It's basically cable all over again. I guess we were spoiled, if you will, on this model that was unsustainable in their eyes, even though, like I said, a lot of them are having profits here. But, we'll see what happens in terms of what's going to be the ramifications now of these increased costs of these streaming platforms. I'm wondering also, are there going to be new negotiations with theaters to increase ticket prices? I hope not, because we're already paying absorbent amounts to go to the theaters as well. But we'll see. Anyway, that's the updates. The Writer Guild of America, as you already know, is off strike. I'm not going to go through the full details because they have been off strike. They went off strike basically the day after my last show. I was completely wrong on my prediction. I thought that some of the hard-nosed members of the studio labor commitment was going to hold things up, but I guess they got pressured out of it. So good for the writers and good for the strikers in advance of them getting the actors in advance of their strike ending as well. So that's a quick news flash. I wanted it to be a flash and not sit here too long. Let's talk a little bit about the box office. The box office looks a lot different than what happened this summer. This box office for this past weekend was somewhere around $77 million. Not really much of anything. I was very surprised by some of these numbers. I am going to talk about some of these films. I haven't seen everything, but I'm going to talk about some of these films that we haven't had a chance to talk about. Some of them in a little bit more detail than others. Paw Patrol, the mighty movie, $22 million this weekend. I believe that it made quite a bit more than that worldwide. I think it's sitting at about 40 right now. So let me see here. Yeah, 47 million right now. They are looking to be pretty much in the green. They had a $30 million budget, so once they get to $60 million, they'll be in the green for that movie. Haven't seen it yet. I think Paw Patrol is going to do pretty well for a while because there's no kids films around. Now, granted, parents aren't taking kids to see films in the fall as much as they would have in the summer because of school and those types of things, and also fall sports and those things. There's things to do, but still, you're still going to have whatever kids movie is out. They're going to make some money. So Paw Patrol will continue to be number 1, number 2, number 3 next week. Saw underperformed quite a bit. Saw is sitting at $18 million for its opening weekend. Very surprising that it's only made $18 million. I would have expected it to make quite a bit more than that, obviously. I think that the horror movies tend to do pretty well. We're going to talk about a horror movie that I haven't seen Saw 10 yet, but I have seen one of the other horror films that's still in the top 10 that we're going to talk about a little bit here pretty soon. So, there's that. Sorry, I'm trying to get my my deal pulled up here because I want to talk about it while looking at my numbers. Here, let me pull it up here. I'm sorry. We are looking at Saw having a $13 million budget. So even though it only made $18 million in domestic, it made almost $30 million worldwide. Even though it's not huge numbers, it is still looking like it's going to be in the green. In fact, it's already in the green. So even if it doesn't make that much more money, if the 10th movie in the franchise still been profitable, that is something to behold. I'll tell you that. I think that that's good. The creator is probably the biggest disappointment, especially since it's an original movie. It was an original movie that's sci-fi and big budget, but not as big as you would think, especially the way that it looks. And you would think that it would be looking a lot better than what it is. It's only sitting at $14 million right now. The creator has an $80 million budget. It made $32 million worldwide. I was thinking this was going to come out like a $45 million opening weekend domestic, somewhere around 60 million international. So this really underperformed for me. I don't think that there is space for it over the coming weeks to really catch up, and it's a shame because I think that it's fairly good, even though it has some problems. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. The Nun 2 comes in the fourth spot for almost $5 million. Internationally, worldwide, it has a box office of $232 million on a $38 million budget. So once again, horror movies, people just love horror, even those that are just kind of blah. I didn't think The Nun 2 was particularly good. I think it was particularly bad either. But it continues to make money. And it's made gobs of money for that franchise. $232 million on such a small budget, $38 million. Horror, if I was a studio, I'd be making horror movies every month because they just are buying horror movies up every month because if it's creative and if it looks good, even if the story doesn't hold together, even if the acting doesn't hold together, even if the logic doesn't hold together, it's going to make some money. Again, pretty surprised about Saw. Maybe people are over Saw at this point because it is the 10th in the franchise, but The Nun, they are still with this whole Conjuring universe 100% 10 toes down. The Blind made $4 million domestic, I think around $5 million. Yeah. 5,200,000 worldwide. I don't even know what this movie is. I couldn't find a budget about it. The description doesn't really make a lot of sense, so I'm just going to skip that. Haunting of Venice, another movie that is underperforming. It is not going to make its budget back. It's not going to be profitable. It made $3.6 million this weekend. It is sitting at $89 million worldwide on a $60 million budget, so which means we didn't get that to $120 million. Haunting of Venice has been out about 3 weeks now, I want to say. I just don't think it's going to cross that threshold, especially with movies like Exorcist Believer coming out and a couple of others that are coming out this month. Dumb Money, off a $30 million budget, it's only made about $8 million. Good movie, but not the type of movie people go to the theater to see. The Equalizer. Denzel Washington continues to make gobs of money even in his ripe old age in these action movies. $2 million, almost $3 million this weekend. It has made $158 million off of a $70 million budget, and it's going to. I would be surprised if it hits $200 million before it's all said and done. Great job for him and Antoine Fuqua. Expendables second weekend only made $2.5 million. It's sitting at about $20 million worldwide on a $100 million budget, and good for them because it sucked so bad, and I don't know what they spent the money on for $100 million, but this movie is terrible. Barbie. It's Barbie. It's $1.5 billion so far. Pretty close to $1.5 billion. They just had a big marketing push in AMC where see Barbie in IMAX. I guess because Oppenheimer had dominated so many of the IMAX screens just this past summer. So I think that gave it a little bump, and it's in our number 10 spot. So I do want to talk about a few movies real quick with you guys. Again, comment section is open if you have any comments about that. There's a movie that did not come out in theaters, but it came out on streaming. I did see, and it's a movie that I didn't really, it had to grow on me. It's called Reptile. It is coming from the mind of Benicio del Toro. He uprights this script along with Grant Singer. It's starring Benicio del Toro. Alicia Silverstone continues to do small films. Justin Timberlake is in this film. Eric Bozian, directed by Grant Singer. This is his directorial debut. He does music videos. I wonder if that's how he met Justin Timberlake. I'm not sure. But it's basically a crime drama where this detective, played by Benicio del Toro, he's trying to solve this murder of this real estate agent. And as he continues to learn about what's going on, the real estate agent and the world that surrounds them, he starts to uncover all types of things that. I mean, it's so it's pretty wild what these people were doing in terms of the scheme here. It's such a slow burn that it felt kind of boring for me for a good half of it. But Benicio del Toro is so piercing and so good in this film. He's just good in roles like this. He carries it 100%. I don't think that the movie works with anybody else in this position because, it's like this slow 1970s crime drama. I wouldn't call it neo-noir or noir film, but obviously, but it's going off of really those 70s, 80s crime dramas that would have came after the noir film movement, right? And it's a slow burn. It's not a lot of action. There's some, but it's not a lot. It's really following this detective and learning what's going on. It kind of reminded me of Copland a little bit, to be honest with you. A much lesser version of Copland, but it reminds me of Copland a bit. So check it out. I give this film. I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I think it's. I'm not gonna 100% recommend it because it's in terms of saying go see it unless you've just really a Benicio del Toro fan or a Justin Timberlake fan. He's not very good in this film. I'm sorry, Justin, but it's 3 stars, 3 out of 5. I think that it's serviceable. I think that it's fine. I think that if you skip it, that's fine. But it's. I think that there's something there for people who like that type of film. So Reptile is on Netflix right now. It came out this past Thursday, I want to say. And if you want to see something on Netflix, check out Reptile, Benicio del Toro. Let's go ahead and talk about another film that I will not be mincing my words on. Sylvester Stallone's Expendables franchise. None of these movies are good. The first first 2 are probably the best ones. The third one isn't that good, but it's still at least fun. And what makes this movie is that it is a film that reminds me a lot of Fast and Furious in terms of it's just outrageousness that it does, but it's much more tongue-in-cheek. It's much more self-aware that you have these aging these aging action stars from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. You have these people who really shouldn't be doing the things that they're doing in this film. It's like a nostalgia fest for children of the 80s and 90s, like I am, right? And you see these heroes reimagined as these mercenaries, these expendables, who go out on missions that are about random things that are going to affect the Earth, or maybe not affect the Earth, who knows. But the appeal of it was, okay, what cameo are we going to see now? Stone Cold Steve Austin's in this movie. Whoa. Jet Li's in this movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger's in this movie. And Bruce Willis. And they're used in pretty cool ways when they show up, too. Sylvester Stallone is the anchor. As the main titular old head. You also have Jason Statham has a pretty big part in these movies as well, and a rotating cast of characters. This movie has none of that. None of it. I don't know if that's spoiler territory or not, but there's no one who shows up in this film that you care about in terms of having that nostalgic feeling where you're like, oh my goodness, look who's in the film, right? And then they're kicking ass again. You don't have any of that. I guess Tony Jaa was supposed to be that for this film, who's a great martial artist from Thailand who really put Muay Thai in a really athletic form of movie telling in the early 2000s. But his story is so small, it makes absolutely no sense. His sacrifices that he's making and the person he's become, it's like he just throws that out the window narratively in the film. So you just kind of feel like he's kind of dumb. And then when he does stuff, if you know Tony Jaa, it just is not that impressive. Everybody in the film that's fighting next to him is more impressive than Tony Jaa. They don't give him a chance to cook. They don't give him a chance to look good. It's just that Jason Statham just outshines them in the little scenes that he's in, and that's a shame. You get no big names from the past. You get no Arnold Schwarzenegger. Bruce Willis obviously has had his health issues, so of course he's not in it. You get no John Claude Van Damme or Mel Gibson. Of course, I know that those characters died in the previous films, but they've ran out of action stars, and that's a shame. You don't even get Terry Crews. What they do, they replace Terry Crews with 50 Cent. I don't have no idea why. No shade on 50 Cent outside of I don't think he's nearly as funny. I really don't understand why he's in this film because of not because 50 Cent can't act, but the whole purpose of the whole Expendables franchise is put action like movie stars in these films, and he's just not a movie star. So I don't know. I mean, Get Rich or Die Trying is a great film, but that should have gave him a cachet to get in this film. Megan Fox is used to the most sexist way possible. She's just a sexy femme fatale from the 19, I don't know what she would be in. There's a shirt that she wears in this movie where just completely see-through for absolutely no reason at all. And she's supposed to be the leader of this team, right? And none of the people that you want. Sylvester Stallone is barely in the film. It really, really hangs on Jason Statham's hands in this film. He does a lot of heavy lifting. He does his best. God bless him. There just wasn't enough for him to do. This movie's terrible. I am giving this 1.5 stars. One of the worst films I've seen this year. I'm not surprised nobody's going to go see it because it doesn't even look good in the trailer. So 1.5 stars. I want to talk about a movie that came as a pleasant surprise. This is The Kill Room. The Kill Room is directed by Nicole Peone, who wrote and directed Friendsgiving a couple of years ago. It's starring Sam Jackson. Well, really, Uma Thurman is the main character in this film, but it also has Sam Jackson playing this old Yiddish criminal, basically. It's starring Joe Manganiello. I can't ever say his name right. I'm sorry, but he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's a tough guy. Uma Thurman, Amy Kermit's in this movie. Maya Hawke is in this movie as well, which is really fun to see her and her mother, Uma Thurman, interact because Maya Hawke is kind of a bead to her mother in this film. I'm glad they got to work together. Really fun film. It's about there's this art gallery owner played by Uma Thurman who is down on her luck and she's addicted to Ritalin. She's not doing well. Her gallery's not doing well. She's not selling any of her artist's paintings. And she's approached by Samuel Jackson's character who owns a bakery, basically. And he needs to clean money for the mob. And so he's going to buy paintings that his contract killer, his assassin, played by Joe Manganiello, that he just makes in between killing folks, I guess. And he buys it for huge amounts of money. And they basically make this niche market where people see that these pieces of art are going for really high prices, and they're really rare. They don't know who's buying them. They don't know what the connection is. And they basically make this market where a bunch of rich people want to buy these paintings, even though they don't understand art scene, right? I'm not really selling it the way that I should sell it, but basically it's making fun of the rich. It's making fun of how we, the rich and the wealthy, compete with each other to own things because of scarcity, and they think that they have to have it because other people don't, even though objectively these paintings and these pieces of art are absolute shit. It's funny. It's funny. He's trying to see Joe navigate wanting to be an artist and a contract killer. It's funny seeing Uma Thurman get her life together through these illegal activities. All of it is funny. It's there's some really exciting parts at the end of this film. I really like this film a lot. I don't think it's a perfect film, but I do think it's an ambitious film and a film that you don't see in theaters that often. The Kill Room is I don't know how long it's even going to be in theaters. If you can get to a theater and see it, I would strongly suggest it. It looked like it had like 8 or 9 different production companies that kind of just threw money together to get this thing to work, and so it's fiercely independently driven. No major studios connected to it. It seems like a lot of European and small companies really put this film out, which makes me think that the only reason it was produced is because you had Uma Thurman back on screen and Samuel L. Jackson as your 2 leads. If that doesn't happen, this movie is straight to VOD, which would have been fine there too. But it's a really pretty film too. It's shot. I mean, it's not. They're not doing anything special with the camera, but they're doing everything pretty competently. I think this movie's pretty good. 4 stars out of 5. See it in theaters. And finally, I want to talk about a movie that is very complicated for me because I like it a lot. And that is The Creator. This is the follow-up from Gareth Edwards' Rogue One. And I'm not a big Star Wars fan, so people who think that this is a crazy take, it's fine, but out of all the Star Wars films, Gareth Edwards' Rogue One was my favorite. It's my favorite property from Star Wars. This is coming from a guy who didn't really connect with the original and thought the other ones were just okay too. So I thought that it had some depth. Now I know that Tony Gilroy had a lot to do with that too in terms of writing and cleaning up scenes and those types of things. The Creator, written and directed by Gareth Edwards, stars John David Washington, Gemma Chan. Ken Watanabe's in this film. Allison Janney plays this role in this as well. It's scored by Hans Zimmer. Gareth Edwards is one of my favorite visually affecting film makers, and this film is another contribution to that. I think that when it comes to visual effects, details in the foreground and background of shots, being able to give landscapes, to make things look real that shouldn't look real in terms of the sci-fi elements of the robots and using practical effects to dress people up as actual like AI robots and make it look real and not make it look cheap. He is really good with that. I think that this is on the level visually of probably the first thing that comes to mind is Blade Runner 2049. I think it looks really good. I think the story resonates with me. It's a story about how AI is being hunted, and there's a war between AI and specifically America because artificial intelligence dropped a atomic bomb on Los Angeles and wiped it off the map. And since then, AI has been on the run or fighting America just for the right to exist. America has said that they're going to destroy all AI, even though the world does not agree with them. In fact, New Asia is a home and a haven for AI. They're still creating AI, and they're basically at war with New Asia, even though they say they're only at war with AI. A lot of people in New Asia die. And it's an obvious analogy for, you can go everything as far back as Vietnam, but even Afghanistan and Iraq, and the way that the heavy-handedness of war and the war machine and the money put behind it, how completely, I won't even say complicated, it's painting a pretty strong moral picture that something isn't right here. I don't think this is a spoiler because you can kind of get this from the trailer, and you can also get this from the first 2 minutes of the movie where they're doing the exposition and tell you what's going on. So I don't think I'm spoiling anything. From the moment you see the AI bomb hit Los Angeles and the speeches from the military that happened right after, it's pretty obvious that there's some shady stuff going on and that this is probably a human's fault somewhere, right? And it's pretty obvious that the world is going to war with this AI unnecessarily. And you feel for the AI. You feel every time you see the U.S. military a sense of dread. They are definitely the antagonists here. They're scary. The military is scary. They're not goofy. They're scary. They're dangerous. They're ruthless. They kill so many. Obviously, the AI robots and the ones that even look like people, they call them simulants in the movie. They treat them like they're not human, which they're not. I get it. Um, but even the people who are allies of AI, and I'm not talking about military AIs, I'm talking about farmers. Um, they get murdered just relentlessly throughout this film. It's really, really hard stuff to look at. And the whole time you're just rooting more and more and more for there to be an end to the war, that AI can live in peace, because you see that despite the best efforts of your main character in the beginning of the movie, played by John David Washington, and everybody else to say, oh, it's just programming. They don't really feel anything. They don't really do X, Y, and Z. When it's obvious that they do, um, you're just rooting for them. And on top of this political and military story, this anti-war story, you also have a story of basically a lone wolf and cub, where there's this AI child that was created that can basically be the key to stopping the war and bringing peace to the whole world. And so he doesn't really care because it's AI. He just wants to use it to the AI child to get to the wife that he lost. And it's a very touching story. It's almost manipulative to a point. I left that film very much gripped with the action because it's such a visually amazing movie. Hans Zimmer doing that score makes it also carrying the motion with his music is top notch. But there are some issues. And the issues are, one, timing. The movie is advocate. Some people say the movie's advocating for AI. I don't come to that conclusion because I believe that what Gareth Edwards is trying to do is he's using AI as a stand-in for anything that's not Western, non-Western cultures, the way that non-Western people live. He's using it as a stand-in for victims of the military-industrial complex. It's their political stand-ins. I don't think that he really. Maybe he does, but I didn't get the sense that AI was supposed to be like, we're supposed to be embracing AI, and AI can be the next form of evolution and all that type of stuff. I didn't get that. I got that American military is too powerful for its own good, and it's easy to brainwash its citizenry to thinking that something is evil and that it must be attacked. That's what I got from it. But the actors are still on strike. The writers just got off of strike, and a big part of that was anti-AI, and anti-AI for great reasons, not good reasons, great reasons. So the timing is off, and that has to maybe be what's hurting it at the box office, because they're like, what are you talking about? The other issue is, how can I put this? The more I thought about it, it reminds me of what a lot of Vietnam anti-war movies were back in the 70s and 80s. Thinking even like the Oliver Stone movies like Platoon, Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now, The Deer Hunter. You can go on and on and on. All those films, they're anti-war movies, but they never tell the perspective or give any type of actions or directives or humanity to the Vietnamese. And the same in this movie. I'm not saying they don't do that for the AI, or they should, but since it's in New Asia and you see a lot of Asian people getting killed, you wish that you got some sense that there was some that there were more than just cannon fodder. The Asian supporters were more than just cannon fodder, and there are some decisions that in a story that it makes sense to me. I understand why they did it, but it also loses the possibility to really give a voice to Asians who are getting murdered in the movie. That's mainly who you see get murdered is Asian people. I had the same issue with Oppenheimer, but in the reverse, where I feel like the voices of Asian people were being pushed down in the telling and the perspective of that movie. Same thing here. I think that this film handles it a little bit better because they do have some characters, but it's a pretty quick film, and I think that they could have added 10, 15 minutes of scenes where you have a Ken Watanabe, even though he plays a simulant, which is a robot that has created from the gift or the donation of the likeness of an Asian man. So there's an Asian man who's an AI, but it's still Ken Watanabe. You know, you look at Ken Watanabe, or Gemma Chan, or even another character on the other side of what John David Washington's character is doing, or Allison Janney's character is doing for America. Give us a glimpse of what's happening in New Asia, how they're fighting their war on their terms, how they're what's the word I'm looking for? How they're defining their place in the world. Why are they siding with the AI? You really don't get much reasons other than they think that America's stupid, and it's obviously was probably America's fault that the bomb happened in the first place. That's obvious, but you don't get any feeling like they're just kind of like there. And even the character that you get some emotional pull to that's in New Asia is a white man. And it's like, you are missing opportunities to really showcase a full breadth of storytelling here. And again, Gareth Edwards, this is he wrote this movie. I think that it may have been a blind spot for him, similar to like it was a blind spot for Christopher Nolan, because I don't know if anybody treated this script. If somebody treated the script, I think that there might have been some other narrative things that they did to it as well, or studio notes or something to help to. And now you have some. I've seen some Asian film critics or influencers or wouldn't have you saying some of the same things, and God bless them, because why wouldn't they say? I mean, they've seen it time and time on screens in these films, so they know what they're talking about. I was feeling it before I even saw some of that stuff this morning, so I felt like I had to address it. So the film is visually stunning. I think that the story resonates a lot with me. I really buy I think this is John David Washington's best performance in quite some time, probably since Black Klansman. I think that some of the stuff that he does in this movie is a little bit overdone. But for the most part, I like him. I really like the kid. I wish I would have got her name, but I really like the kid who's playing the young AI person. It's a fine movie. I think that I'm going to give this 3.5 stars, mainly because it has issues with sharing the perspective of Asian people within New Asia. And also, I think that it loses some space and some focus around the issue of AI. But outside of that, I think this is a great time. I think that anybody who goes sees this film is going to be blown away by the visuals, blown away by the action, blown away by the score. And I think that I don't think that if you're conservative or conservative leaning, or you may not appreciate the what this movie's trying to say about war and military might and so what have you. And that's fair for you to have your perspective. But for somebody like me, this really speaks to me. So 3.5 stars. It would have been 4.5 if it had handled some of those issues better. I want to see Gareth Edwards do more work. There was a lot of controversies around Rogue One, and he has I don't think he's had a movie in about 6, 7, 8 years. But his visual storytelling, maybe if he can connect with a writer, a sci-fi writer, and I don't know who that would be, to write his films, and then put the visual artistry and storyteller artistry on top of a really tight screenplay that'll work better. The creator, going back to the box office though, I can't believe that it only, what did it make? 22 no, it only made $14 million US, $32 million worldwide. It only has an 80. When you look at this film, it looks way better than Indiana Jones and the Dollar Destiny. 300. That's a $300 million film. It looks way better than Fastest, which I think was 250, $300 million film. How he made this film with only $80 million, still a pretty big budget, but it's an original film. It should really chart the way for more original filmmaking, but it's not if it doesn't make any money, guys. Now, we say we want something different than Marvel and DC. Maybe people who are saying that their voices are just drowning out the average American who goes to watch movies or the average moviegoer, because I think that I never thought that we were getting too much Marvel or DC. I just think that we need to diversify what's going on in the theaters. But we say we don't want all these franchises, and yet franchises are the only ones that make money. Saw did better than this film. A franchise. Equalizer 3 is going to make $200 million probably before it's all said. A good franchise or a decent franchise, but a franchise, right? You have these films, The Nun, The Conjuring universe, $232 million worldwide. It's a franchise. These franchises make money. These are not even Marvel movies, right? The superhero movies that you guys say that you hate. Everybody goes to those. Now, that's my soapbox. Please, when it's good or when it's even challenging or halfway decent for something to be made on such a fiscally responsible budget to produce this film, Gareth Edwards should be bringing in a new wave of original filmmaking. But it's got to make some money. It's got to go way over $80 million. It needs to hit $250 million for 30. So, wow, we got something here. Or else we're going to continue to get the same stuff over and over and over again. It looks like the next move is going to have a lot of concert movies come out in theaters. We got the Taylor Swift concert and the Beyonce concert and the Carlos Santana concert and a bunch of other concert movies. Fine. What do you guys want in the theater? I don't know what the experience should be. But it should be the creator. Despite its issues, it should be the creator. Okay, so that's my soapbox. I'm going to go ahead and get you out of here. Once again, this is Brian Knows Movies. See it, a show about movies and stuff. I'm going to continue to try to be more consistent with this. I think that next week I might be out of town. No, I'm here. We're going to be able to make it happen next week. I'm going to be able to make it happen next week. No problem. So I will see you here next week for See the Show about movies and stuff. We'll probably be talking about The Exorcist Believer in quite a bit of detail. I'm supposed to be going to a Tallgrass Film Festival here in Kansas. And I may give you an update on that. Thank you so much. Thank you for continuing to support me. And I will see you at the theaters next week.